Good evening. It's January 21st, 2025. It's my privilege to speaking with Mr. John Jeckovich, World War II hero. How you doing tonight, Mr.?
Very good, thank you.
You're looking well.
Thank you.
I see you got some heavy clothes on there.
Heavy clothes?
It's cold out there today. I see you got a heavy sweatshirt, t-shirt, nice pants. So you're doing well today then, huh?
Oh yeah, terrific.
Jeckovich was a World War II hero. He got the 2 Bronze Stars and a Purple Heart. He was shot up by a sniper, bombed with a dirty bomb, which means the bomb itself explodes over the soldiers' heads, and it has like nuts, bolts, razors, any scrap iron just to make a big mess when it hits the soldier. Mr. Jeckovich still has shrapnel in his leg. Mr. Jeckovich damaged his knees from a hard fall from parachuting during World War II. He received trench foot, frostbite. Is your frostbite still bothering you?
Yes, frostbite bothers me every day.
80 years later, still bothering you. You know, it's a cold winter here in the United States, and a lot of people are going snow skiing. Keep in mind, you can easily get frostbite there. Some of the temperatures wind chill factors are below 20 at many of the ski resorts. So if you get frostbite, let's give you a little World War II tip. Don't run inside the clubhouse and get to the fireplace. Sit right there, make yourself a snowball and run the snowball onto that frostbite area. It'll get the blood circulating again. Otherwise, you might have some big problems. So Mr. Jeckovich during World War II was shot, beat up, stabbed, frostbite, trench foot, bombed. They hit him with everything, and they sent him to recover in a hospital in Paris for 3 or 4 months. And they he left the Paris hospital with a bunch of Band-Aids. And as long as they said your trigger finger could work and you could walk, you are what?
Fit for duty.
Fit for duty. Stick you right back on that front line. Stick you right back on that front line. Mr. Jeckovich was on Company H, the 2nd Battalion of the 291st Regiment of the 75th Infantry Division of the U.S. Army during World War II. Mr. Jeckovich was affectionately called the Diaper Division. Why was that?
Oh, young kids.
All teenagers right out of high school. Weren't they pegged as the code name was 33s?
33, yeah.
Get those teenagers,
33, yeah.
get those teenagers on the front line there. They have a lot more energy and stamina than a 25-year-old does. That's a fact. And they went through a lot of the young teenage boys that just left high school on the front line. They never seen nothing like it. And basically, if you weren't street smart, you probably didn't make it. Mr. Jeckovich lives by the motto, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift. And just some random facts that we've been speaking over the last 4 months. Oh, by the way, many texts come in again. How much is your book and where could you buy it?
You can't buy the book.
Mr. Jeckovich, his book is not for sale now, nor will it ever be. He certainly does not need any money. He's doing this as showing the young people what life was like in 1925 and how life was simpler in 1925. Gasoline was 7-8 cents a gallon. A new car was $900. A beautiful, decent house was $2,000 and $3,000. Life was really simple then. The wife would work. The wife would take care of the household. The husband would work. On Fridays, the wife would go shopping, and $20 or $30, they had enough provisions for the week. They had enough provisions for the week. So it was a very simple situation. Life was very simple. And the list is long. When they filled up your car for $2 or $3, a full tank full compared to $100 today, they checked your tires,
Yeah,
clean your windshield,
yeah,
check your oil.
yeah.
You know, they had a full service. And now, in 2025, 100 years later, you stand out there like a beggar and you pick up some nasty, dirty gas handle full of germs and you pump it for $3, $4, $5 a gallon, $100 plus to fill your tank, and there's no services at all. You do the work, stand there like a fool, pump it into gas. Oh, and by the way, if you need air, heaven forbid, all these convenience stores have these little air machines you put in a buck or so, I guess, and there's not enough air to fill up a beach ball. You sit there like a fool. Back then they had genuine compressors, genuine air pumps, and it was all free. So times have changed drastically. The households stuck together. Here in Florida alone, we have over 90,000 divorces just last year in 2024. Families stuck together. So if you have any questions for Mr. Jeckovich, it doesn't have to be Army related, and it can be anything about life. Mr. Jeckovich had a long and successful marriage of 69 years. You could ask him questions about that. Mr. Jeckovich worked in Kimberly-Clark factory for 35 years. Did you ever miss a day?
No.
Did you ever drive your car to work?
No.
How'd you get to work?
Walk.
What happens if there's a snowstorm?
Walk.
What happens if there's a real bad thunderstorm?
Walk.
Okay. See what I mean? Simple answers. We don't need complicated answers to live a life. They can be simple answers. Mr. Jeckovich is knocking on the door of 100 years old. He's knocking on that door of 100 years old. Don't you think it went by, you snapped your fingers, you blinked your eyes, you're 100?
Yeah. Couldn't believe it.
Couldn't believe it.
Swift.
Yeah, so enjoy your life, people. It goes by fast. Oh, and by the way, if you're 40 years old, you have about a 10% chance. You have a 10% chance making it to 100. It's a hard thing to do. It really is. Not too many people could make that goal and be in the shape this guy is. And he reads 3 newspapers each morning, including the Wall Street Journal. Never used glasses. Still doesn't use glasses. Let's see. Never took a prescription or a vitamin in his life. And he jogged for 80 years. But when Mr. Jeckovich started jogging, it wasn't fashionable or acceptable. They thought he was jogging because he couldn't afford a car. What did they yell at you?
And we'll get off the street, bum.
They would yell at Mr. Jeckovich, "Get off the street, you bum." What'd they throw at you?
Everything.
Everything. They threw empty cans of Genesee beer. One time some wise ass threw a full unopened can of Campbell's soup and popped him right in the head. And so times are different. Now on every corner, at every minute of every day, you see joggers, and they realize they're jogging for health. And probably those wise guys that, said derogatory things at Mr. Jeckovich and threw cans at him, they're probably long gone. They're all pushing up daisies. What got you started jogging, Mr. Jeckovich?
Well, I read a book on it.
Oh, yeah?
J.S. Cummings.
And that got you started, you never put it down.
Yeah.
Yeah. That got Mr. Jeckovich started, never put it down. Not too many marriages have gone 69 years. It's hard for me to think of any. But Mr. Jeckovich had a unique approach to marriage. He met a wonderful lady in Buffalo, New York. Her name was Delphine Stulak. And eventually, after courting for some time, he took her to the Basilica, the Roman Catholic Basilica in Lackawanna, and he proposed to marriage to her. She accepted, and then they knelt on the altar at the Roman Catholic Basilica, and they prayed together for a happy and long marriage. Apparently, the prayers were answered.
Yeah.
What advice you get to young people getting married today?
Watch what you're doing.
Watch what you're doing, yeah. Watch what you're doing. In order to get married today, you have to love being married. You have to love the concept of marriage. Many people run into fast relationships and they think it's about loving the person. No, you have to love the concept of marriage. Because the honeymoon stage will, once you move in together, will last 2 weeks, and then you might have some problems. And 90% of the marriages that end in divorce are all financial. Financial plays a big role in many of these divorces today. Everything's so expensive, let's face it. Now they got the wife working 3 jobs, husband's working 3 or 4 jobs, and they still can't afford to buy a house.
Yeah.
And you're at the beck and call of some landlord, and most landlords you don't want to deal with. They're really a pain in the asses. There's something really nice about buying a house, and there's something really nice that keeps your marriage stronger, believe it or not, is having that house and having no mortgage. It's a beautiful thing. By having no mortgage, you have many benefits. One of the benefits in Florida would be you could self-insure. If you have to have a mortgage, you have to buy insurance, homeowners insurance, and it's extremely expensive today if you can buy it. For example, an article we recently read from homeowners insurance on all these floods and damages to the house in Florida, run by Citizens. Citizens was the insurance company. 70% was denied. These are legitimate claims. 70% was denied. What happens is you fly by night insurance companies, they set up, they take lots of monies, hundreds of thousands of customers, take all their premiums, and then they, when a hurricane comes or some damage to many houses in Florida, they bankrupt it. They simply bankrupt. They walk away with hundreds of millions of dollars and leaving you in the bag. Oh, you might say to yourself, well, they're not going to pay my legitimate claim, which it is legitimate. I'll sue them. Good luck. Good luck. Let me tell you how justice works. The color of justice is green. Insurance companies have deep pockets. You go ahead and sue them. It's a very expensive task. Insurance companies will drag it out year after year after year. They're still sitting pretty, and you're running out of money, and your house is not fixed. So when you run out of money suing an insurance company, in most cases, the case will be dismissed. And not only don't you have your house fixed, they dropped your insurance, which was garbage to begin with. You can't buy another insurance because no one wants to deal with you. And then your mortgage company will stick forced insurance on it, which would be an astronomical rate. Hard to believe how high it'll be. And then the matter gets even worse. Once you run out of money where you can't keep the case going in county court, the case will be dismissed, and on top of all this, the insurance company will sue you for the cost that they paid their attorneys to represent themselves. So it's a very, very difficult thing having insurance on houses today. A very difficult thing, and very stressful on a husband and wife. So if you get that mortgage paid off, you don't have to be forced to carry a mortgage. You can be self-insured and pray to God you don't have nothing major. Minutes, please. And then you can take care of the minor stuff that comes up. Because if you're dealing with companies and like Citizens and everything else.
17.
Huh?
17.
They're not going to pay. You're wasting your time. They're wasting your time. So, Mr. Jeckovich, tell us all the different businesses and jobs you had during the last 50 years.
Different jobs.
Kimberly Clark.
Clydesdale.
Snow plowing.
Clydesdale.
Kresge's.
The what?
Kresge's.
SS Kresge's.
Usher.
And then the other one was the, what was the last one I had?
You snow plowed?
Well, snowplow was residential, yeah.
Yeah, laundromat.
Yeah, well, laundromat, yeah.
And then you worked as an usher at the movie theaters.
Oh, yeah, I worked as an usher in the movie theater, yeah.
And back then, the movie theaters were so busy. Tell us exactly what an usher did.
Well, they roped it up, and I went down the aisle with a flashlight, go down there, find out the empty seats, splash the light on the empty seats, or they send somebody down.
Yeah, so that's how times have changed. And how much did it cost you in the movie?
Movie, probably $1.50.
Yeah. Yeah, so there it is, how times have changed. Life was much simpler then, that was for sure. Yeah. So Mr. Jeckovich jogged for 80 years, and unfortunately his knees blew out. It's like it was a situation that kept him healthy and sharp as a tack. But his knees blow out, and once your knees blow out, you need help with everything. You need two people at all times, each shift, every day of your life. You need people to help you with dressing, bathroom, cooking, everything from A to Z. And young people, keep in mind that's very expensive. I one time had a young fella, I think it was last month or something, a couple responded to one of our podcasts. Oh, by the way, we have 417 podcasts, and right now we're in Studio 6B. 400 and some podcasts, and the person responded to me, goes, he says, I'm ready for retirement. I own my house clear and free, and I have $1 million in a bank. And I simply replied, I would not want to be you. I would not want to be you, and let me tell you the reason why. The person doesn't understand how expensive it is getting old. It's 1,000 here, 5,000 here, 50,000 here. You're like a human cash register. You're like a human cash register. Money's going out so fast you can't keep up with it. So let me just tell you this scenario, and then maybe we're not telling you how to live your life, we're telling you to think about other options you might have. Because he says, I have my house paid in full, no mortgage, and I have $1 million in the bank, I'm ready to retire. I says, I would not want to be you, and let me tell you the reason why. If you happen to get into a wheelchair, or you have a serious ailment, you need 2 people on your side every hour of every day. And that, and taking care of your house by staying at home, I should say, staying at home, two people every hour by your side every minute of the day. And all the still expenses keep going. You got your medical bills, you got your, maintaining your house and your taxes and everything else. And at the minimum it'll cost you, minimum, is $40,000 a month. So figure it out. That's almost $500,000 a year times, what the hell's going on?
Oh, you're screaming in the hallway.
What the hell? Staff is supposed to be drinking coffee, they're not drinking booze, are they?
No.
Okay, how many minutes we got here?
13.
So let me get back to this before. Can I finish my scenario?
Yes.
So they said, oh, God, interruption. I have a paid studio now, I'm getting interrupted. So getting back to it. My house is paid for, I have $1 million in the bank, and I said, shit, I don't want to be you. Oh, why not? One major illness, your knees blow, or if your knees blow out, you're in a wheelchair. You need 2 people every minute of every day, round the clock. So you still got your bills, you got your maintaining your car, this is staying at home, by the way. Car, house, everything under the sun, the bills are still there. And minimum, it's $40,000 a month. So that's almost $500,000 a year, times 2 years, depending how long you live. 2 years, that's $1 million. So now your scenario, you have your house paid for in full, and you have $1 million in the bank. In 2 years, you're flat ass broke. You're flat ass broke. Simple as fact. So we're just giving you ideas on how, if you're a younger person, 40 or so, you can think of other scenarios or things you could do, because it's very, very expensive in getting old. Oh, and some genius said, I have the illusionary notion my sons and daughter will care for me. How does that work out?
No, it's a fake. It's a fake.
It's a fake?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Jeckovich says it's a fake. It's the biggest pile of shit in the world. You might find 1% of the sons and daughters that are real, but generally speaking, your sons and daughters will abandon you like a rat would abandon a sinking ship. They'll abandon you like a rat will abandon a sinking ship. Once they realize there's lots of time involved, once they realize there's lots of money involved, they disappear. They're gone. No one knows where the hell they are. They're completely gone. I don't know how they live with themselves. One of the 10 Commandments is honor your mother and father, so they're probably going to go burn in hell. They're probably going to burn in hell. But how do they wake up in the morning and brush their teeth knowing that they abandoned their mother and father? What horrible people, but that's 90% of the population. That's what we're involved in right now in 2025.
Well, look at here, how many single older people are here living by themselves.
Yeah, well, that's a true fact. Mr. Jeckovich has 2 sons that abandoned him. He has a daughter that abandoned him. And he has 2 daughter-in-laws. They're completely gone. They're completely out of the picture. He has a son and a daughter-in-law that lives about a mile or two from his house. We haven't seen him. We haven't seen him. What kind of person is that? What kind of person is that son and daughter-in-law that lives next door? What kind of example are they setting for their children? What kind of example are they setting for their grandkids? How could they, shame on them, how could they live in such a fashion? How could they be so narcissistic? How could they be such sociopaths with no empathy? Karma's a bitch. You're gonna get served exactly what you put out. But on a happier note, Mr. Jeckovich is doing quite well. He's perfect health, no money problems whatsoever. He's in high cotton there, and he loves reading this book. And so any questions you have, you can text us, and we'll be glad to help. This is fun stuff. Mr. Jeckovich loves being in there for his book on a daily basis. He just loves it. He gets scratched up. He prepares for it, and his mind is like a library. Come on, he's done every type of business you could imagine. He's had a successful marriage of 69 years. His mind is like a library. So text Mr. Jeckovich any questions, no matter what the subject, and he'll respond to you. And if you want to talk to him, you can also call him too. So let me give you a good contact number, and he'll definitely call you back. Oh, and by the way, a copy of his book, the original copy of his book is at the World War II Museum, in New Orleans. And also, we've been working on it for several months, and the project's well over $250,000. We're doing AI of Mr. Jeckovich. In 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you can see Mr. Jeckovich sitting in a nice chair similar to this, and AI will be answering all his questions in the same tone of voice he has now, the same mannerisms for decades and decades and decades to come. And so that booth is being set up. There's been a lot of people who proclaim to be AI experts, and we paid consultants a lot of money, but they weren't. So we keep moving on. We'll find the right person, but eventually Mr. Jeckovich will be in AI. But right now, here it is. It's so simple. Look at him. Text him a message. Text him at 407-366-0000. Text Mr. Jeckovich at 407-366-0000. And how we communicate on a beautiful island, at the beautiful island of Hague Point, Deflusky Island, South Carolina. We talk a little bit differently there. I don't know why, but we do. Text Mr. Jeckovich at 407-366-0000. Text Mr. Jeckovich at 407-366-0000. He'll answer your questions in a day or two. And by the way, if you want to call him, you can call him sometimes. He'd be glad to talk. He's working on his second book, and I hope you hurry up with his second book.
Yeah.
How many pages is your first book?
495 pages.
How many, 800?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on page like 799. We're going to be running out of stuff to read. So just give me a couple paragraphs of your book, maybe in a week or two, of your new book. I need some material. I need some material. So we're going to talk about Mr. Jeckovich is setting up the laundromat now, but before
6 minutes.
But before we do, we have to open up the laptop. We need a code to read the book. What's your dog tag?
42965.
Okay. Let me just run through a couple things that might have some random facts about World War II that we were going to talk about the other day, and we didn't. These are just random facts that Mr. Jeckovich made notes on. Shortages in Britain were so severe that the British soldiers rationed 3 sheets of toilet paper per day. During the food rationing, one British biologist became so hungry that he ate a laboratory rat. So things in England were tough.
Yeah.
They got hit hard.
Yeah, in English, yeah.
They got tough.
Yeah.
They got hit hard.
They got bombed too.
Bombed every day.
Yeah.
And Paris was also occupied by 4 years.
Yeah.
By the Nazis. And Mr. Jeckovich and many other Allied soldiers kicked Hitler's out, ass out of Paris.
Yeah.
And to this date, they're so appreciated to combat soldiers like Mr. Jeckovich. We just received a beautiful video from a nice fella, probably in his 20s or 30s. Went on for 15 minutes. He couldn't thank Mr. Jeckovich more for liberating Paris, because otherwise the Nazis would have took over. The Nazis were raping and killing in Paris during their 4 years of occupancy. But this fella here, which was probably a great-grandson of a fighter during World War II, went on and out of the clear blue sky. He sent a beautiful video of Mr. Jeckovich thanking him for liberating Paris during World War II. And ironically, the fellow was standing in front of the Eiffel Tower. He said, we'd be probably speaking German now if it wasn't people like you. He would said this Eiffel Tower wouldn't be standing now if it wasn't for people like you.
Yeah.
You can look at our podcast. I said there's over 400, but just scroll down, you'll see the beautiful video that this young man sent in from Paris. During the Blitzkrieg, what was a Blitzkrieg?
A what?
What's the Blitzkrieg?
Brook Street?
Blitzkrieg. Blitzkrieg.
Oh, it gets bombed every day.
Bombed every day. During the Blitzkrieg, British officials expected a widespread of panic and suicide attempts and mental illness. They even opened up special clinics for shook victims. However, those clinics closed because the demand was so low. So the government thought, because of the Blitzkrieg, but constantly bombing the UK, that everyone was going to be mentally distressed, suicide, so they opened up clinics, but they didn't need them because the people there were strong. They were strong. British civilians were so determined to get through the war that they did not allow their minds to deteriorate during the bombings. Minutes, please.
3.
Germany, this is Hitler. Hitler was a complete psychopath. Got famous for his crazy ideas for weapons and tactics, but Britain has its own fair share. Project Habakkuk was a British plan to build an aircraft carrier entirely out of ice and wood pulp. It was planned in Alberta, Canada, where temperatures rarely fall below -40. But it was eventually shelved because of the expensive and impractical. So countries were finding anything to make defensive weapons. In 1940, France had a bigger military than Germany with more manpower and weaponry. In spite of France's superior numbers, the Battle of France lasted only 46 days before they were crushed by the Germans. So there it is.
Yeah.
French had more manpower, had more minutes.
2.
They had more manpower, they had more minutes, but hell,
Yeah.
the Germans still won in 46 days. Wow. When you were living in Paris, how was it there?
Paris?
Yeah, how was
It was
it?
still occupied. They were living under German rule for 4 or 5 years. And when we came in, they were just getting out of it.
Was there a lot of buildings bombed?
Well, the buildings were selected when they bombed them. The Germans selected the buildings. They didn't bomb churches, they didn't bomb basilicas, they didn't bomb hospitals, and they
So
didn't bomb
most of the
schools.
churches were still standing.
Yeah,
And the Eiffel Tower.
And the Eiffel Tower.
yeah. They
Imagine
didn't bomb that, no.
Minutes?
That's just about a minute and a half.
Interesting fact about the Eiffel Tower, when the Nazis occupied Paris for 4 long, miserable years, Hitler came over, he wanted to go on top of the Eiffel Tower. And the workers that care for the Eiffel Tower, the maintenance then, pulled a spoof on Hitler. They told him that the elevators are broken, so they had to make Hitler walk to the top of the
Yeah,
Eiffel Tower
yeah.
if he wanted to get the beautiful view of Paris.
And John walked that.
Yeah, you did the Eiffel Tower. Right?
Yeah,
You walked it, right? Or did
Yeah.
you take the elevator?
yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. What was the weather like when you were in Paris?
Well, the middle of winter, February or March.
Yeah,
Snow on the ground.
miserably cold, right?
And their heating system was terrible. They don't have central heat at all anywhere there.
And most of the buildings
Big stoves in the middle, and that's it.
and most of the buildings are 200 years old.
Yeah, no insulation or nothing.
20 seconds.
Wow, that was an experience living in Paris. Wasn't
Yeah. Those people live roughly, boy. They really live roughly.
it? USA, we had it made.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we have a big ocean that separates us.
Yeah. We'll pick it up tomorrow.
Got